As Washington continues negotiations on legislation to address gun violence, we wanted to take a closer look at the use of body armor, which has become more commonplace by mass shooters in the past decade, with military-style tactical gear making it harder for law enforcement to take down active shooters. Why is such gear readily available, and should it be more strictly regulated? ABC's MaryAlice Parks files this report.
One of the many devastating details of the mass shooting in Buffalo, New York, was that retired officer Aaron Salter Jr. confronted the shooter, but was not able to stop him.
He legally purchased a military-style weapon and body armor.
Testifying on Capitol Hill, Buffalo Police Commissioner Joseph Gramalia said Salter was the proverbial good guy with a gun, but he had no chance considering the shooter's gear. Did that make the shooting even more deadly?
Absolutely it did. Officer Salter, who was working in top security that day, he engaged the shooter. He got off numerous shots, and one of those shots hit the tactical armor that the shooter was wearing. That would have ended it, and it didn't, and he was able to continue on.
The Violence Project, a nonpartisan research center that studies gun violence in America, found that at least 21 times in the last 40 years, a mass shooter has worn body armor during their attacks. Many of those deadly instances coming in the past decade, including in Sutherland Springs, Texas, San Bernardino, California, and Aurora, Colorado. Author and journalist Mark Folman, who has covered mass shootings in America for more than a decade, says the trend is increasing.
It's also a point of emulation behavior. Shooters looking to previous attackers for inspiration and wanting to be like them.
After the Buffalo shooting, the state of New York quickly passed a new law trying to ban the possession of tactical body armor. But some experts worry it was written too narrowly to include the type the shooter used. Besides the new law in New York and others in Connecticut and the city of Chicago, there is almost no other regulation around the sale of body armor or other tactical gear. At the federal level, it is against the law for felons convicted of violent crimes to buy such gear. But in practice, military-grade armor and helmets can be purchased online and delivered in days to almost anyone.
You have a recipe for more of this kind of offensive attack in the hands of relatively few people, but enough to do terrible damage, as we just saw again with these recent mass shootings.
It saved your life.
It saved my life, absolutely, yes.
Dr. Aaron Westrick, a former Michigan sheriff who also worked as a research director for a body armor company, told me he was appalled to hear that the Buffalo shooter was wearing body armor.
It just makes me feel sick. I feel awful about it. And that's not the purpose of armor. It's not to protect the bad guys.
Westrick describes a subculture of gun enthusiasts who say they want to be combat ready, and accessories, including body armor, are marketed directly to them as a part of this. He worries about an arms race between law enforcement and civilians.
I personally would like to see more regulation and at least self-imposed regulation by the body armor industry itself to make sure the citizens that are buying it are verified.
Folman agrees, noting there could be fewer barriers to regulating body armor sales compared to guns.
There's nothing in the Constitution that talks about a right to tactical gear. But that said, if we understand that this is becoming an element in this problem, that it's increasing the danger in mass shootings and other forms of planned violence, then it does raise a real question about whether or not it should be regulated more stringently.
But others in the industry argue that mass shootings have increased the need for body armor to be accessible to the public. In the parking lot of a gun show outside Philadelphia last weekend, we find Keith Barrett.
You have Concealed and Tactical.
He runs one of the largest body armor retail companies on the East Coast. He walks us through the range of gear he sells.
This has level 4 plates in it.
Okay.
Level 4 is the highest level you can wear. Ceramic will stop pretty much every round out of a small arms rifle.
From this full military style kit.
If you were to put this on.
Okay. Yeah, the weight's here and here.
Exactly.
To one like many police officers wear, intended to be concealable, more comfortable.
This will stop all rounds fired out of pistol and shotgun up to about 1,800 feet per second.
To this.
This clearly has a certain market. I mean, you are hitting a demographic. This is pink camo.
It's just camo.
Costs can range from the hundreds to the thousands of dollars.
You can take this panel out when you don't want to wear the shirt and put this in your backpack or computer bag and have an armored backpack or armored computer bag.
Are people thinking like that?
Yes.
Barrett, who served in the Army before having a career as a state trooper, dismisses the idea that armor makes it harder for law enforcement, arguing that officers need better training and more firepower to respond to active shooters. And he tells us he's seen a demographic shift at gun shows like these. With more violence in U.S. cities, he says a wider range of people of all ages are looking for protective gear.
You're getting younger people, more Democrats. They're purchasing guns, magazines, training, armor, all the above. One of the most common sells is a parent or teacher that wants to have some type of protection. They'll buy the individual panel.
Have you actually sold something like that to a mom that said, I'm putting this in my kid's backpack?
Actually, often. That's very common. Yes. People are concerned about the operational and security environment at schools or public places in general. And if you're not authorized to carry or wear a gun to some of these places, what's your only option left? A piece of defensive equipment.
He tells us in his industry, there are no federally required background checks, meaning at gun shows like these, he is just taking people at their word.
Have you ever sold a vest to someone and you felt weird about it?
No. And we lose a lot of business because of that. One of the things we impress in our company is integrity. If you don't feel comfortable, don't sell it to them.
What do you say to someone who says the average civilian does not need to be able to buy a tactical vest like that?
All right, you define need. Tell the average lawmaker who lives in his $500,000 house to go down to the inner city and live in the environment where they're shooting at each other every day, and tell them they don't need body armor.
No city should have to go through this.
Despite those points, back on Capitol Hill, Buffalo Police Commissioner Gramalia tells me he supports the new law passed in New York and more outright bans, hoping to curb shootings like the one his officers had to confront. Do you think it was a good model other states can learn from?
Yeah, I do support it. Why does the average citizen need to have body armor?
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.